Morning guys, new start, new week. So we've got a Yaris GR in this week. It's in for pretty much most of the week, in all fairness. It was initially in just to have like a temporary coat, new car prep. Then the customer saw the video of what we did on the last one, which is where we actually got the roof to show the true forged carbon underneath. If you haven't seen that video, pause this, skip back a few months, have a look for a blue Yaris, have a look for the roof that we did, because underneath the Yaris GRs, it's a real forged carbon roof. And the reason why they've covered it up with absolute cheap, crappy wrap, which looks obviously horrendous, it's the worst wrap I've ever seen, is because there's defects in it. Now the defects are actually, it's not lacquer, it's actually a resin, and it's very, very difficult to work with, and we found it quite tricky initially, and it did damage the pads we work with, and you really struggle because it's rock hard, this resin. But the results are amazing. So as I say, pause this video, skip back a few months, or just search for Yaris GR. You'll see the roof reveal on there, and you'll see what it actually looks like underneath, because it's amazing. It transforms the car, and they should have done it from factory. They should have just sorted the defects out. It wouldn't have been a big job. But anyway, the Yaris is in. We're going to be doing a light bit of buffing on this, sort out a few panels, especially the blacks, because they're already looking pretty tatty. The mirrors, the spoiler is pretty bad. The back panel on here, which are plastics, are notorious for it. Everybody on the Yaris groups knows about it. This one has got tarnished over the last few months before we last quoted. I'm going to have to try and really bring that back for the customer. And then today we're working on the roof, getting these the actual forged carbon to come through. Tomorrow we're doing the rest, so we'll do videos in bits. I'll try and get some more of the roof in a moment. See you in a bit. So I've got to be honest, I'm shocked. We've just basically de-wrapped the roof. We've got the forged carbon finish now. Just about to trim bits around the actual sort of mirror, the front of the window rubber, and the aerial. The one thing I won't do is I'm not going to take the aerial out. I'm not prepared to take the roof liner out because it can damage them. I've done it for 25 years. If I damage the roof liner doing the aerial, I know it's how you wrap a car. You take the aerial out, you pull the screw out. It's something I'm not prepared to do, so I'm basically trimming around here really neatly using special tools just to get the wrap from the edges. So they're the things I'm going to do now, and it does take a bit of time, but I'm generally shocked because this roof, I actually can't find any defects in it, which is weird, because the reason I was under the impression that these were wrapped with cheap Chinese vinyl, which is obviously horrendous vinyl, is because they all have defects. Because I've had 3 of these in now that have all had defects on them, where I've got to kind of sand the resin and bring the resin back up. Now there's marks and swirls in this, but it isn't bad at all. But I can't find any actual defects like pinheads, blistering, fish eyes, anything along those lines. So I'm going to basically trim those areas now. Take a bit of time to do that, because I'm going to do it neat. I don't want to cut on the car. I've got to be really careful. I'm going to buff this resin up and just see if I can find anything. But I think the customer's going to be really, really chuffed with this. I'm going to ring him in a bit, and I'm going to give him hopefully good news that there is literally no defects in his roof, which is just amazing. So again, Toyota, why are you wrapping roofs in crap vinyl? Waste of time. You could have sold 10 times as many of these, honestly. So what now basically doing is, the roof seems to actually be in pretty damn good, almost perfect condition really. A few marks and a few swirls in it, which is standard for resin anyway, but there's no actual defects or pinheads, which I'm really shocked with. All we're basically on with now is we're trying to get the glue out of the guttering off. Now that isn't too bad a job. It hurts your fingers, makes them quite numb and sore, so you kind of get used to that with having white finger on it. The biggest issue we're going to have is basically removing it from the actual trims themselves. You just don't want to come off with places like that, so we're going to have to maybe use a toffee wheel, or really go to town, just use your fingers and it'll hurt a lot. It's probably like an hour's job just to get that off, but once we get that back off, we can get the trim back on, and we can actually start sealing the roof and just see how well this one actually does come up, which I'm hoping it's going to look mint, because so far so good with this one. So the Toyota Yaris is basically in for just a ceramic coating. It's in for the signature coat gold package. What that includes as standard is kind of a, well, it's a very quick skim. It's not actual detailing work. So what we do is we prep the car in the morning, we do go over it with the buffer to obviously give it a bit of a gloss and enhance the paint a little bit, like a paint revival. And then we put the ceramic coatings on, and that's for customers who don't want to go to a full detail, don't need a full detail because the paint works immaculate, or the car just doesn't need that sort of level of work. Now the honest answer is, with this one, the Yaris was badly marked, and for a white car it was quite bad and it was quite obvious, but it hadn't lost any of the colour being new, it had just been washed quite badly. So what we kind of agreed with the customer on this one is to do the gold package, which has got half a day kind of machine work in it, so not a vast amount of time, and then the customer basically upgraded and added an additional day's labour onto that, which meant I could do a little bit more work, get the marks out of the paint in areas such as the bonnet, the boot, you know, areas where it's obvious, and fix those so it looks like we've done an enhancement. He also upgraded an additional day for the roof, because the roof does take a day as a bare minimum, sometimes it's a bit longer, but we class it as a day and work over. But because of the time we've actually had, and in all fairness, because of the way I am and the way people know I am, I'm a little bit OCD with things. I can't have marks in cars, and I know really I should have had this for like 5 or 6 days. I should have had 3 days detailing, 2 days ceramic and a day on the roof. That's the truth, but that's what I'd wanted to have. It's a small car, it's kind of give us a bit of leeway on it, and even though there is a few little marks in the paint here and there if you want to find them, but you've got to find them because even I'm trying to look, the time we've got and the additional days the customers basically allocated us with, we've pretty much done an enhancement on the car. And as you're aware, our enhancements are very similar to a correction level. We don't do a lot of corrections. A correction's 10 to 14 days. I don't care what any other business says it is, that's the time it takes. So the bonnet is pretty much mint. The boot is pretty much mint. The black plastics, which you see along the lines of here, across the top on here, the spoiler, they were absolutely shot, seriously bad. The light clusters, worse than any I've ever seen before. Pretty much mint. You're not going to find hardly anything on them unless you really want to find it with a proper detailing light. The front end, I've managed to get all the blacks brought back up, all this was badly marked. The sills, the arches were really badly marked, but do you know what? It is pretty much an enhancement level. I'm really happy with it. I'm now ready to put the coatings on. We're gonna steam the calipers first before I do anything else today. The wheels, as you can see, are already off. They've been coated yesterday. Sam cracked on with those. That saved me a few hours of my time, which meant I can do more work on the car. The calipers are pretty dirty, but it's just top surface brake dust. I'm gonna steam those in a minute. We're gonna ceramic those, get the wheels back on, start getting the top coat, the hardener on the actual car. I'm probably going to get the glass done today, touch the plastics, and then tomorrow all I've got to do is do the top coat on the car and check a few things over and give it an interior valet. So we're on track. I'll get a bit more videos. We'll try and get a video of actually steaming the calipers for you, but you've all seen that before. And we'll have this car actually finished by tomorrow. I kind of skipped the video of actual steam cleaning the brakes. You've seen it enough times. Truthfully, these weren't actually that bad, so they were only like a 10-minute job per actual caliper. We've just coated them now. I'm going to show you a quick look at what they actually look like finished. So that's the calipers done, that's the wheels done. Wheels are going to go back on. Now we're going to actually coat the body, do the hardener on there. It's going with the signature coat, which is our own brand. It's what we've got on the 235i demo car. We're going to be coating all the plastics, the glass, the trims, everything you can imagine. Then we're going to be going over it tomorrow once it's baked, and we're going to be putting the ceramicpro top coat. And we're also going to be going over it with the glass with ceramicpro as well, just give it an extra edge. And we'll show you a couple of pictures of the products as we're going on with that. So what you basically just saw there was when we ceramic the roof, even though we basically prepped it and obviously buffed it and got it ready, you may have seen on the previous video for the Yaris we've done, well, we've done a couple now, but a Yaris we did in the past where, because this is actually resin and it's not lacquer, you can't work it like you normally can, and it does mean it's tricky, and a lot of people don't really understand how to work it because you can actually make a real mess. But because it's resin, there's always a residue going to come off. So on the actual applicator pad we've put on there, the ceramic is applying, but it's actually cleaning it as we go, and what that's doing is thinning, softening, and basically removing some of the resin coat. So when I go to the other side now, I'm going to have to use a new pad again, because the problem is that resin pad will then go hard and I'll scratch the roof. So I'm having to do this in about 5 different sections, and I'm having to do it in different stages. We're also going to be coating this 4 times like we've done with the rest of the car. So we're probably going to go through about 10 pads or just on the roof itself, and that is just a precaution really to stop putting any marks in the roof while we're actually putting the coating on. Buffing it off is fine, because the more we layer it, the smoother it becomes and the easier it is to buff, but the first initial coats really do leave a mess on the pad. So if you didn't actually see it on the video just then, that's basically what the pad looks like. So instead of it being clear white, it's a resin colour basically. But I'm going to show you now, just very quickly, how the roof actually looks. We're on the last legs now of the Yaris, basically just doing the top coat and the glass products on the car. The trims are back on the roof. We have to use some really cheap double-sided tape because ironically the really good stuff we have just didn't work. The trims are back on, as you can see on here. The roof's basically had its second coating on it. We're just putting the hardeners on now, then I'm going to jump to the glass and the plastic trims. And we'll get the typical montage set up for you, because the car looks absolutely mint, looks so mean and aggressive. They look amazing at the front anyway, they always have. The roof really makes a big difference. Now the gloss trims are all fully actually gloss and black, really stands out. I'm going to get a bit of tyre shine on the tyres, we'll get the montage, we'll get the video up. Cheers. So I'm going to now show you the actual roof, fully glossed, finished, protected, brought back to life. This is real forged carbon, people.